My name is Adriana Berenice Acosta Nun. I'm from Universidad del Valle de Mexico, Campus Veracruz, that's in Mexico, and I'm studying communications.
Hi guys, I'm Nelson David Bassi. You can call me Nelson, you can call me David. And as you can see, I'm now in New York. It took me about 22 hours to get here, 2 flights, long flight. I mean, that was the longest flight I ever had in my life. But trust me, it was worth it. It is worth it actually.
I'm Daniel Rubio Sanchez, I'm from Spain, and I'm a student at the Universidad Europea de Madrid. I'm currently studying a double bachelor's degree in international business and international relations.
I'm really excited and nervous at the same time, but I'm really confident that we're going to do a great job. It's the first day of interviews, and we're going to do great.
Well, today is the first morning of the first day of CGI 2015, and I feel really excited. We've spent the past day, preparing and practicing for today, and it's about time we go out there and, do what we've always learned to do. And I look forward to today, actually. I'll be doing some great interviews and a bit nervous, but also confident in my team that we'll be able to pull it through.
I wasn't expecting it to be so difficult in the sense that you have to get ready, you have to spend a lot of hours preparing these interviews, preparing yourself, knowing how to actually interview and how to deal with someone appearing on your set and just wanting to be interviewed, and you have to know how to face and address the situations.
So my expectations is that we do a great job, that we get to meet these important people and learn a lot from them, and most importantly to be able to connect with the Laureate Network and be able to give them and transmit the insight and the messages that these important people are going to tell us.
Welcome. This is Voices That Impact the Future, and I'm Daniel Rubio Sanchez. I'm a student at the Universidad Europea de Madrid, and we're all here to bring you the best of the experience that we have had here at CGI 2015. We have been having a wonderful time here interviewing world leaders and watching the best of these plenaries, and you will be able to watch this. Here, I have Nelson and Adriana.
Thank you, John. My name is Nelson David Bassi from Inti International University, Malaysia.
And I'm Adriana Berenice Acosta Nun from Universidad del Valle de Mexico, Campus Veracruz. And I think I can say that we're really excited and we hope that this will be insightful and inspiring for you as much as it has been for us.
We're really here for you. Please enjoy it. This day have met my expectations. I have had such a wonderful opportunity to meet world leaders, businesswomen, and people from the US government and the administration of the President Bill Clinton. It has been a wonderful experience and a great opportunity to improve my personal skills and my competences.
You have been working to give a platform to particularly women in China, to help women and girls raise our voices in your country, and you were one of the hosts of the Fourth World Conference on Women in Beijing 20 years ago, which is an important milestone in my family because of the speech that my mom gave there declaring that women's rights are human rights and human rights are women's rights, which shouldn't have been controversial then and should be even less controversial now, but is hardly sort of accepted as a philosophy really anywhere in the world. Could you talk a little bit about kind of what progress you've seen in China for girls and women and also around the world, but what more you think we need to be doing, particularly with the focus on girls and children?
Well, first of all, it's a great privilege to be here and with our distinguished fellow panelists. Yes, 20 years ago, I was studying at School of International and Public Affairs at Columbia University in New York City. And one night I got this call, so you have to come back and host the opening ceremony of the most important conference that we have ever hosted, and that's the UN Conference on Women. But also at that time, I also heard people talking about, why women's conference? Why all these tens of thousands of women coming here for? Aren't women equal enough? But then after 20 years, you do see a much higher public awareness of the importance of the empowerment of girls and women. women are having much more equal opportunities and access to education. About 1/3 of business owners in China are now women. And Jack Ma of Alibaba told me half of the startup businesses on the internet in Alibaba are women. And the default rate of women borrowers is only 1/4 of that of men. No offense. And, well, I'm very much involved in capacity building for young women leaders in both philanthropy and business. I guarantee you, women are learning and progress very fast. And sometimes they tell me, you know, we should also engage men, otherwise they will be left out. With Her Village, which is a multimedia community for women, we want to engage more men and boys into this, because I think within the last 20 years we have realized the empowerment of men is not, in the past 20 years we have realized the empowerment of women is not just the right thing to do, but also the smartest thing to do, because they generate economic growth and social progress. What we have also realized is that the empowerment of women and girls are not only good for women and girls, but also for the whole society, for men and boys too. So that's why we are engaging the men's business communities into this whole initiative, and so that we can share and learn together. And also at the same time, we offer capacity building workshops for young women. We have tours here in the United States and elsewhere in the world to learn how to start up their business, how to have the proper mindset and skill set so that they can make bigger successes. So we take a lot of pride in this, and hope to partner with more public and private sectors to make the course moving ahead.
Yang Lan is known as the Oprah of China, and she's a powerful advocate for women's rights. She spoke to us about what success meant to her, so let's get right into an interview. Someone inspire you to actually pursue this, or was an event in your life that actually led you to this?
Well, while I was studying here at Columbia University, after 4 years on television, I pursued my studies in international affairs and journalism. At that time, Walter Cronkite, Dan Rather, Barbara Walters, Peter Daniels, they were all very big names in media. And I think that was the 90s. The 90s was like a golden time for television. So actually, after my studies here, I went back and created the first and so far the longest on-air show on international personalities interview.
Amazing.
It's called Yang Lan One-on-One. I have interviewed more than 1,000 global leaders on that show and reach hundreds of millions of audience.
Wow, you have said you had a lot of references for studying journalism. How do you think you, being so successful, have helped other students, female students especially, to pursue a career and be as successful as you have been in business?
Well, thank you. It's very kind of you to say that I'm successful. I define success as the will and also the capability to live up to your dreams, not try to copy others or to live up to some other people's expectations of you. So I think my message to young women and men is that take a risk. Be yourself, follow your heart, especially in your 20s, because you can afford to lose. You have nothing to lose, right? And also always try out. Test your limit, reach out of the comfort zone, and reach out to a bigger world.
About the importance about preserving our culture through storytelling?
Yeah, I think storytelling is very important, and of course it is fun. Like everyone loves story and everyone has their own personal stories, but especially the story that I tell are the traditional stories which conveys the message of peace, diversity and tolerance.
It's a very powerful tool, and whenever I thought about that, we'll think about policies and all this, we never thought about story, a very powerful tool to actually bring people together, to resolve conflicts and also to preserve the culture of the people. But then I want to know, how did you get started in this? What is your own story?
My story? I think I have been telling to my friends as well that my parents didn't finish primary school. So they were not confident enough to read stories to me or like books to me, and it's people are not aware that they have to read. But I grew up with oral storytelling from my parents at night because of they're not aware that they have to read to me. They just tell me stories before I go to bed. The stories about how to become a better girl in the future, a better woman in the future, and how to help the others. Those stories, and I was really inspired by the stories that I have heard. Then I started to use stories in my teachings and the teacher trainings because the stories are used for literacy development, and they're very powerful to use in teaching as well. Last year, we started an initiative called Third Story Project because, as I was telling you that we've been having conflicts in our country, then we came up with an idea called Third Story, because every conflict there are always two sides.
Sure.
And people forget to think from different perspective, like from third perspective. What about if we are looking for third perspective? There's going to be a better way. We should be very creative and find the alternative to solve the problem. So that's the aim of our project. And we started to produce story books, picture books for the children in the country. And from last year until now, we have distributed 80,000 picture books for the children from Myanmar.
Wow.
This year we had student correspondents at Laureate universities worldwide. Now let's hear from Robin Kim in South Africa.
Hi everyone, it's day one of the Clinton Global Initiative 2015 and we are broadcasting live from MSA. With me today I have our Director of Engagement, Mr. Craig Rowe, and he's here attending the live broadcast for the Clinton Global Initiative. Mr. Rowe, I just want to know what goals or what future goals do you think our students will have after attending such a broadcast?
Kim, I think that the moment young people get to sit together globally, but also sit with leaders that they respect, they would draw ideas, draw initiatives, and formulate their own plans. So you don't want a replication of everything that's already happened. You want new plans, new ideas, new initiatives. And I think our young people, by sitting around together globally and talking and engaging with all their strengths and all their abilities together, will formulate new goals, new ideas, and be part of the whole global change that's happening in the world right now, and be part of the new initiative to eradicate extreme poverty by 2030.
Wow. If that doesn't motivate you enough, the Clinton Global Initiative sure will. Please tune in, #Clinton Global Initiative 2015.
Today I had the opportunity to interview Madeleine Albright, and it was really inspiring and motivating because she was the first appointed secretary for the United States, the first female secretary. And I think that tells a lot about women being able to pursue whatever career they want, and that even if they face obstacles, no matter where they are, they can overcome them and go far. So I really like that. My advice to women who want to be leaders is don't be afraid. Like, I know things sometimes are scary, like to try new things is scary, but you have to have the confidence in yourself to try things that you like and that are your passion. If you fall or if you trip or if you make a mistake, you're gonna learn. You're not gonna die. You're not gonna be able to, you're not gonna suffer something and you're not gonna be able to recover. It's gonna be an experience and you're gonna learn from it. So the next time that you try, you're probably gonna go further until you get where you wanna be and you're gonna be successful at it. So don't be afraid. We're women, we're strong, and we can do this.
What do you think are the biggest challenges the world is facing in the international context we have nowadays?
Well, there are an awful lot of challenges, and I think the challenges are that our interconnectedness has shown that very clearly what happens in one place affects everybody everywhere else. And that is positive and negative. I think that we are really all related. I do think that one of the things that's happened is that people feel they need to identify more with their own types of people, which is fine unless you decide you're going to hate the people next door. And so that is part of the issue, the positive aspects of the global connectivity and the negative aspects that are hard to deal with, and all that's happening with technology.
So a little more about you, a question. So what inspired you to get to where you are today?
Well, I call myself a very grateful American. I was born in Czechoslovakia. We came to the United States and did become refugees. And my father was a Czechoslovak diplomat who didn't want to work for the communists. And this country was very generous to us. And so I describe myself as a grateful American, and I try very hard to give back.
You have just talked about refugees, and it's been a real problem in Europe and all around the world. How do you think states or international organizations should face this challenge?
I think that we have to realize that most people would prefer to live in their own country, but if they can't, they need to be welcomed. They can be very productive people in the countries where they are welcomed, and we're all human. We can't treat the people like animals. We have to, and I think the United States should step up and take a leadership role in this.
So do you believe it is like a world's duty to be brotherhood and sisterhood like to our fellow people in the world?
I totally do. I think that it is a common issue, and it could happen to any one of us. And I think that we have to recognize that we're all the same. We don't want to be drowning. We don't want to be hungry. We don't want to be treated with no respect. And I think we have to put ourselves into the shoes of those that are trying to have a decent life.
We have the great honor of having here former Prime Minister of Australia, Julia Gillard. We talked with her about how education can help a country being more equal. Let's hear what she has to say.
Thank you.
Ms. Gillard, you've had a remarkable political career. And after office, you went into education. Of all things you could do, why education?
Well, really, education's been the theme across my life. It's really the backbone of my political career too. I'm a migrant to Australia, and having migrated there, I was very conscious as a child growing up. My life was very different from my father's or my mother's. They grew up in Wales. Both of them were denied quality schooling. My father left school at 14. So I actually went to university understanding that education made a real difference to someone's life. And it's that propelled me into politics. And what I did in politics was so much built around opportunity for Australian kids. So it's been a natural fit post-politics to stay in education, but now globally advocating for every child to get a great education.
Wow, that's phenomenal.
How do you think education can help us change the world?
Well, I think it's the foundation stone. I mean, we're here in New York with motorcades crisscrossing the streets, going in and out of UN meetings. You know, we've had the privilege of seeing the Pope here. But when it all comes together, it's been about the world endorsing a new set of global goals. And when you look at all of those global goals, the health goals, the environmental goals, all of them, ultimately they're not achievable without education. It's education that's going to be the foundation stone for individual empowerment, for the exercise of individual rights, for democracy building, peace building, as well as building real economies so people can get ahead and lead lives of prosperity.
And you know, you earlier mentioned about your family. I think you're really connected to your family. Have anyone, or apart from your family itself, have they really helped you? How did they help you become, the Prime Minister?
I think you develop, the most deep-seated of your values in your family home. And for me, that was a set of values about opportunity and education, but it was also a set of values about respect and dealing with people decently. And I think all of that got in my head, ways of working and ways of thinking about things that meant when I went to university and first got involved in campaigning for better access to education, I found that I was hooked and realised that if you do get active and raise your voice, you can make a difference.
Julia's Gillard position on education really fits with mine, because she has very clear that education is just a way to transform the world. Doesn't have any final purpose, in the sense that education is important just because it's education. She knows that it's a way to transform the world, and it's a tool for that. And if you, for example, get people from developing countries really educated, you get them opportunities, education is an opportunity, you can change the world. And she thinks that, and I think that too. And the fact that she has that very clear, it's very important, because political leaders all around the world have to really know that there is a need for the world to change and to get more equal, and for people to have the same opportunities. And if they really think that education is a tool, I think that we are on a good position to start working for that. And I think that Julia Gillard does have that position and that idea very clear. and I'm really happy she does, and I hope other Minister of Education all around the world, even though she was in Australia, really have that very clear, because if they do, we will be able to change what needs to be changed all around the world.
How do you think the Laureate Educational Network prepared the students for the workforce, or to be more outstanding in the competitive society outside?
Sure. We not only teach technical skills, we also teach survival skills in many respects. The world we live in is a global village right now. So just by the mere fact that you're educated by a global faculty gives you perspective on how the world is outside your country. So having a faculty member from England or from the Netherlands or the United States gives you a different perspective just by interacting with them.
Que los muchachos que tienen la oportunidad de ver una transmisión en vivo de Laureate Live puedan escuchar a líderes que traen ideas y comunican ideas innovadoras y vanguardistas, pues obviamente sirve para que ellos funjan como ejemplo de vida para estos muchachos y para que tengan un horizonte muy amplio en sus tomas de decisiones.
And now let's hear from Queen in South Africa.
Hi everyone, my name is Queen Dutebe. I'm the university correspondent for Mana, South Africa. This is the first day of the Clinton Global Initiative broadcast, and we have Lesego Ramayela, who's a second year accounting student here at the university. And she's going to be answering a question for us. Lesego, what benefits are there of being part of the Laureate network?
I genuinely think because it connects us internationally and we're able to connect globally. It's not about the degree nationally, but we are able to use our degree to travel the world, to do whatever we want to do, and it just connects us. It's all about connections.
It's all about connections, and I think the Laureate broadcast is connecting all the Laureate universities around the world, and we're very excited. Remember to hashtag CGI 2015. It's Queen signing out.
So perhaps, not surprisingly, Ursula and I are here this morning to talk about how we can all do a better job of including and empowering those who are too often not included and empowered in the formal economy, particularly in the tech sector, notably women and minorities. Ursula and I were talking backstage, this is not the first time that we've shared a stage together or the first conversation that we've had on this issue. And yet we take some comfort from the fact that more and more people seem to be paying attention to this conversation, and more in different voices than just ours are joining and pushing forward the conversation. To ensure that you can continue to build an inclusive company, you need to have an increasingly inclusive pipeline. And one thing I know that we've also talked about before, and something that we've been highly focused on through CGI, is how do we ensure that more people can see themselves growing up to be heads of companies like Xerox, and this is an area where we have lost ground.
This is the single most passionate area that I am personally in our company is focused on, and this is including into this the future problem solvers, more and more women and underrepresented minorities in STEM subjects. One of the reasons why I agree to sit in places like CGI, in addition to the fact that you asked me to come here, and I'm a big fan of yours, is that I want people to know that engineers and scientists look like me. That's who I am. I was just a regular person born on the Lower East Side of Manhattan who happened to, luckily, engage in a set of educational initiatives that ended up in degrees in engineering. That shouldn't be by luck that you ended up there. It should be more programmatic, more purposeful, that we get more and more people engaged here. If we don't solve this problem, if we don't solve this problem for anyone, men and women, but if we don't solve it for women and underrepresented minorities, for sure they will continue to be only 5% of the CEOs in Fortune 500 being women. There will continue to be wage disparities that are shocking still in the United States, where a woman makes 78 cents for every dollar a man makes. This is a real country. We track everything, right? We know everything that goes on, and we still have this cluster of inequality that can be affected, but it's not going to be affected by one program or one person. It can be affected by stepping out a little bit and owning, stepping out a little bit and owning part of the problem. Putting that all together, we should be able to make progress. By the way, progress is being made. It's not like we're standing still, but nowhere near at the rate that you would expect it in a developed country. And forget about the developing countries.
Chelsea Clinton is the vice chair of the Clinton Foundation. She's most passionate about girls and women having equal opportunities to quality education. She spoke to us about the impact of education on children around the world. So let's get right into our interview.
We're here with Chelsea Clinton. She's the vice chair of the Clinton Foundation, and we're very happy we're here with you.
Thank you, Daniel. I'm so happy to be here with you and with you, Nelson. So thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me today.
We've been seeing a lot of plenary sessions here about different topics that we cover: education, business, environment. Which one do you think is the most important one?
Oh, well, I don't think we have, admittedly, the ability to rank. I think we have to care about everything. I think, though, we can each choose to engage where we are most passionate and where we think we can make the most difference. So I would urge young people who kind of get overwhelmed by caring about everything to think, well, what makes me the angriest at this moment in time? Or what inspires me the most? So what problem do I want to try to help solve? Or what work do I really want to try to help support? But I think we have to care about everything because we don't have any time to waste.
Oh, absolutely, that's true. And talking about your passion and inspiration, you've been an inspiration to many students out there in the world and haven't accomplished so much. I'd like to ask, what do you think has been your most proud accomplishment? What are you most proud of yet?
Definitely being a mother.
Wow.
I'm so grateful to be my daughter Charlotte's mom. She just turned 1 on Saturday. We were talking about that before we went on air. And so I just couldn't imagine any greater gift, but also any greater charge than to be her mom. And also to work as hard as I can for the world that I want her to be able to grow up in. And I know I said this on stage, but I believe it so strongly. I didn't know I could care more passionately and more intensely about the work I was doing already until I became a mom, and somehow that greater sense of responsibility and investment in the future. And I find that particularly true for issues relating to girls and women's rights and opportunities.
While you speak about that, it might sound a bit daunting to most of our students, feel like this is a huge problem and we can't do anything. But if we bring it back home, how can students today watching, how can they be a part of this, change to make education accessible for everyone?
Well, I think it depends on where students are. Right? And I think we all have to have the humility to recognize, we each know our own environments best and other people know their own environments best. So I think it depends on where students are living and where they're from, because there's then credibility and opportunity with both of those identities, right? Where you find yourself, you have a real claim on kind of being an involved citizen because you're living there. You're choosing to spend time, energy, money in that place, or where you're from, right? That's your home. Like, you have a real identity. It's probably where your passport is from. And you absolutely have then kind of the opportunity, and I would also argue responsibility, to engage there. And I think that big problems are often just lots of smaller problems that should be broken down and solved. So for students, kind of whether it's campaigning against child labor, because child labor is still legal in some countries, right? So getting the laws on the books and then helping hold governments accountable for enforcing those laws. That's what Kailash was talking about yesterday from India. India now has banned child labor, but it's still often not enforced by police departments and the local courts. So getting the laws in place, holding governments accountable for enforcing those laws, but also doing things like partnering with, whether it's Pencils of Promise or Building Tomorrow, organizations that are building schools, that are training teachers, that are providing salary support for those teachers. So it's not just the building of a school, it's a real support for the school into the future. So I think there's so many different ways for people to involve, whether it's on the advocacy side or on the fundraising side or kind of going and becoming a teacher, right? If that's what kind of students that feel called to do. I mean, truly, access to education and supporting every child having the opportunity to go to school, there's so many ways that we can engage, and I think we all have to engage in whatever ways feel right to us, and also where we know we're going to have a real impact.
We were talking about getting involved, but how can our students from the Laureate Network get involved with the Clinton Global Initiative?
Well, I would say, watch on live stream and see what you really connect with. because there are so many ways to help amplify the commitments that people are making. So whether that is supporting Timberland's program to now plant 5 million more trees in Haiti because they already planted 5 million trees, or whether that is with Building Tomorrow and helping to support building another school in Uganda, or whether that is raising awareness about the challenges that women and girls still face. I mean, we were talking about earlier today, or in this country, in the United States, I came from a session focused on child hunger in our country. 1 out of 5 kids in America is food insecure, and a big challenge there is that a lot of people don't know that.
Yeah.
So I think there's so many things that Laureate students can do. Help raise awareness, or help raise funds if you really care about and you have capacity to do that. But don't underestimate the value of raising awareness. I think we often think that people know things that we know, but that's often not true.
That's true.
And we have to have real awareness, and we have to have then real understanding of how best to direct that awareness, whether at our local governments or at the UN or somewhere in between, or to the private sector or to an NGO. And I certainly hope that exploring the CGI commitments portfolio really helps students understand that, understand kind of who is best situated to solve which problems and why, and what can then each of us do to support that.
And now let's hear from Jasmine in Brazil.
Hi, I'm here with Paula Rodrigues. She's also an international relations student at IBMR, and I want to ask her, why did you attend the CGI broadcast?
Well, why not attend? This is an amazing experience. This was not my first time. My first experience was 3 years ago, and since then I realized how important and how enriching this could be to my future career and also to my own improvement.
Many of you may know Ted Danson from CSI, but what you don't know is that he's a dedicated environmentalist. We've had the opportunity to interview him and talk about ocean preservation. So let's go to the interview. So we know you started getting interested in oceans and environmental problems around 1980s. So from that point till today, what do you think has happened? Has it improved? Has it gotten worse? And if so, what can be done to change it in a positive way?
Great. Okay. So around 1987, fish count started coming down. More and more boats would go out, bringing back fewer and fewer fish. So that trend has continued. But all of a sudden now, because the focus has changed to saving the oceans to feed the world, we now have people's attention. We know what to do.
So we've seen that there's organizations that are concerned about this and that they're playing their part. What would you say to us students and students back at home, that how can they put some effort to change the situation and make help get the oceans clean?
First off, I know this is self-serving, but I really encourage you to go to oceana.org, because it's a brilliant website and they're doing amazing work all over the world. You can become an ocean advocate by just clicking your finger on your computer and signing up. You don't have to pay money. And then if we need you to send an email to any place in the world that needs to hear from you, all of a sudden 60,000 people sending emails can make a huge difference. So go online and find out how you can participate. The other thing is, if you're into technology, it is you who are going to be inventing things we don't even know about yet that will help save the oceans. For example, we're working with Google and SkyTruth, which is a satellite company, so that we can map in live time what every ship out there is doing. And if they're starting to fish illegally, because you can see them slow down and start to zigzag, you will be able to know that ship's name, where it's going, and you can then send somebody to meet them and go, you're busted. So the technology, which you were talking about earlier, is going to, I think, help us with so many of our environmental problems. There will be solutions we haven't even dreamt of yet.
Yeah. And now let's hear from Andrea in Peru.
What are some key takeaways that you have gained
at the broadcast? Well, I was really interested in the panel about young unemployment. I think that's a really heavy issue that is affecting especially developing countries like Peru, the country where I come from. So I love that panel. I think that Mr. Joseph Stiglitz is a pretty right man, such a right man, and I don't know. I think that he was right when he said that when society doesn't provide job opportunities to young people, you are actually ruining a whole generation, because they don't get to learn what they need, what they actually need. You know, the practice beyond the theory, to actually make business successful and make their society more successful. So that's I think that's the main takeaway.
And how will you use the things that you have learned here in your country, in the world?
Particularly, I liked a lot of what the CEO of the Lego Foundation spoke about when she speaks about alternative education and learning through play. And I think this affects me greatly, because I have a project that I've already been working on for a couple of years that's called Fun School, and that it goes for alternative education in Peru. And what we want to be is pioneers in all this learn through play and integrating technology into early education.
Great. Well, I heard it was very competitive to be selected.
Yeah.
So congratulations.
Thank you.
Obviously very impressive to be selected.
And we are so humbled by that.
Well, I'm so glad, and I hope you're having a great time.
Oh, we are. We're learning so much.
So, have you had some good visitors yet? Some interviews?
Yeah.
Who have you interviewed so far?
We've interviewed Julia Giller,
Great.
Reverend J.C. Jackson.
I just
Malin O'Brien.
Ah, wonderful. Wonderful. Fantastic.
Really outstanding people.
Yeah, any one of them would be a big interview.
Now we have Dad Becker. He's the founder, chairman, and CEO of Laureate International Universities, and we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for him. We talked with him about the power of education has for changing the world. Let's watch that interview. Why did you decide to pursue a career in education?
Well, thanks very much for the question, and I'm really pleased to be here with both of you today. For me, education was more about solving a problem than really about the concept of education per se. In fact, I think as an entrepreneur, I always have been trying to find and solve problems. And I think if those problems can be scalable and sustainable, then you can actually build an organization or a business around your solution.
And Doug, looking at your story, you have a remarkable story actually. You started your first business at age 7, and you wanted to create several other businesses. So with that experience, what advice or what lessons can you give back to your students in terms of being entrepreneurial and starting businesses?
Well, the first thing I'd say is don't really expect to start a business when you're 7.
The business I started at 7 didn't go anywhere, but it was fun, and it
developed for me a dream, a belief that maybe I could do something. I remember my father lending me his briefcase so that I could feel like a businessman when I was 7 years old. But over time, I did come up with ideas that really could work, and I got a little bit older. The business that I started that really took off, which was a healthcare technology company, I started when I was 17. And in that case, I think the key lesson is that even at 17, which is better than 7, I could never have been successful if I hadn't brought in partners and mentors, because you couldn't possibly know everything that you need at 17 or 27. And so I was very fortunate to bring in really capable and caring partners and a mentor, ultimately several mentors, and I learned so much from them, and that gave me the opportunity to avoid some mistakes. And more importantly, to survive and outlive the many mistakes that I did make.
You were mentioning competences as an important part for employers. How do you think an event like this, and this being broadcast to a student, is useful for them and is valuable for all the network?
I think part of it is really trying to understand, maybe beyond competencies, but the idea of character. That this event, CGI, it's really about solving the world's problems, and in many cases solving problems for the people who are the most vulnerable and needy people that you could find on the planet. And I think that one of the things that's happening in the world that I really love is that young people are more and more passionate about the role they can play in making the world a better place. So does that really tie into a specific competency? I'm not so sure. But does it inspire people to want to find a field in which they can contribute to the development of the world? Absolutely. And what I really like about it is that you can make an impact in the world almost no matter what profession you choose. Whether it's as an artist to draw people's attention and to see the world in new ways, or as a medical professional who can earn a living for their family with their skills, but maybe also donate their skills to people that can't otherwise afford it. There's a role for everyone. But what I think is important about CGI is a reminder that we all are needed to address these pressing problems. It's not going to be addressed just by government or just by a few big foundations in the world. Everybody has to do their part. And I think that's a very big part of the spirit of Laureate and the Laureate universities and students like you.
We'd just like to know, what do you think, what opportunities, what skills do us as the students who are part of this Laureate network get that allows us to enter our careers with a global perspective and a global mindset?
Well, as Monash South Africa students, as Laureate students, I want all of you to be globally minded. I want you to be highly employable and ready for the world of work in the 21st century. I want you to be entrepreneurial, whether it's as social entrepreneurs or business entrepreneurs. I want you to be cutting edge. I want you to be thinking innovatively and out of the box. These are the characteristics that we're looking for in our graduates, in Laureate graduates. This is what you need to be. You need to be globally minded, you need to be prepared, you need to be ready to serve and make a difference in the world, and you're going to make huge contributions and change the world.
And when you think globally, the possibilities are endless. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much.
This is Queen Ditebe and Kim Moody. Guys, remember to hashtag CGI 2015.
And I enjoyed talking to you, Jesse Jackson, as well. He gave really great quotes, and it really touched my heart, and I could feel his passion from what he was saying, and he's got a passion for equality. He says freedom is not equality. We might be free, but we're not equal, and it's fighting to address that situation, and that's something that actually connected really deeply with me, and I feel that we can all come together and do something about that.
And what do you think we have to do to completely address the need of human rights and people being equal in the world?
Well, demand that universal laws be applied. That is, that all people deserve drinkable water and affordable health care and access to education, development of their minds, their bodies, and their spirits. And that cannot be denied based upon race, or religion, or class, or tribe, as the case may be. In America, we have some tremendous unfinished business because we won't face up with the fact that African Americans face 246 years of legal slavery, another 100 years of legal apartheid laws, where 4,000 blacks were lynched trying to stop us from getting desegregation. Against that backdrop, while we made a measure of progress, we're number one in infant mortality, number one in short life expectancy, number one in the first industrial complex. So there's unfinished business, and yet we struggle against the odds, and we're making progress.
And now to a student correspondent in Cyprus, Vasily, sir.
Hello everyone from sunny Cyprus. My name is Vasilisa and I'm really honored to wear this badge and this t-shirt and be one of the Laureate University's correspondent for the CGI 2015. Right now I'm standing here in European University Cyprus, which is a part of the Laureate network. We have about 2 hours before the broadcast. I'm really excited to watch what the global innovators are going to say for us this year and get the insights from the conference in New York. Would you do anything to fight inequality yourself?
Yeah, basically I think one of the ways is to give people equal opportunities. So it doesn't matter where you are, basically if you get the same opportunity, especially in education, you can get to go to other places. If you get a good education, you can get a job in another country, and that way it actually makes mobility easy in terms of you can live anywhere. As long as you're educated, you can work and live anywhere with your family. You don't have to stay where you were actually born. So education is the most important thing, I think.
Let's go to a student correspondent, Stephanie in Brazil now.
What points do you think was important about the CGI broadcast we just watched?
There are many points, but I really enjoyed how they spoke about inequality between sexes. Women get paid much less than men, and this is just wrong. I don't know how you can change that, but it's just really, really wrong. You need to change that immediately. They put out some ideas, but I don't know if they were really feasible at this moment in time, but I really enjoyed it. It was nice.
What opportunities do Laureate students have that other students don't have?
I think that the main thing is that we live the internationality every day in our lives at Laureate. We have students exchanging, we have visiting faculty, we have all the forums and online events, and we also have the sharing of best practices in teaching and learning across the network. I think this is the main difference. And even if the student does not have the opportunity to go abroad and to do some time outside the country, we can bring the globe to the students in our own institutions, like, for example, in the CGI event and other events.
What benefits do students like us and students back at home get from being a part of a Laureate International University's network?
Well, Adriana, as you and I were talking about earlier from your own experience, being at UVM in Mexico and taking a global business certificate at Walden, there are really tremendous opportunities to study abroad, have exchange programs, develop a real sense for all of our students of how connected they are to the globe. Not just in their local markets, while that's incredibly important in terms of understanding about economic issues and public issues, but also having a broad sense of global mindedness and what it means in the 21st century to be a global citizen. And I think Laureate creates an incredible way for all of our students to gain a better sense of that.
And how do you think that opportunities and that exposure to international perspective is helpful for their career?
Well, I think that business leaders and employers today are looking for people to come in and work for their companies, their organizations, their agencies, who have a sense of the broader world and have a sense of how issues impact the world in a cross-border way and have an appreciation for other cultures, because all of us are connected globally. All of our economies are very much interconnected, and so having that understanding by virtue of coming out of a network of global universities, I think gives our students a leg up and a real advantage as they enter the workforce.
We really hope you have enjoyed this broadcast as much as we have enjoyed being here for you, because everything we have done, this broadcast, the interviews, streaming the plenary session, was for you.
It has been an honor to be able to represent you students and our network here at CGI. Thank you so much.
It was a great pleasure, and I hope that you've enjoyed this session as much as we have.
We were all here for you, but your role in this is really important. Please, do not forget to keep in contact with us in social media, with Laureate Connect. And we really hope that this event and this broadcast is useful for you to keep changing and to keep engaging with your community. Because you are the future of impact.